Greetings, everyone. This is Eric Stewart from Fishing Fanatics, and I'm joined today with an awesome guest, Jay Yelas. Jay is one of the fishing's most decorated anglers with 25 years of experience as a professional fisherman and winner of the 2002 Bassmaster Classic and 2003 Angler of the Year. He also received in 2003 an ESPY for the most outstanding outdoor athlete and Angler of the Year twice for FLW. So Jay's experience that he has is absolutely outstanding, and I was checking out some of the things that he does, but probably one of the most impactful things that he does now is something that we like to call C.A.S.T for Kids Foundation. And this foundation is awesome, and I'll let Jay kind of talk about that a little bit later on the podcast. But how you doing, Jay?
Good. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Eric.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for signing up and doing this with me today. And what I'd like starting off, Jay, is just tell me about your story about how you got into professional bass fishing, because I know it's one of those things where, you might have grown up with your family and kind of like fishing there, and then you might have tried your hand at some professional tournaments. But I just want to hear your point of view, like what helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah, you're right. That's kind of how it started. I started fishing in high school with a friend and family members, my dad and stuff. And then when I got in college, I went to Oregon State, and that's when I kind of caught the vision to try to my hand at being a professional bass fisherman. That was back like in the mid 80s. And we, back then there wasn't any college fishing like you have now. It's a totally different world today. But so I graduated in 87 and then I fished tournaments all through college. I didn't really get into bass tournaments until I was in college. In high school, I think I fished one tournament in all of high school, but I fished a lot on the weekends in high school. But in college, I started fishing tournaments, just team tournaments around in my home state. And then after I graduated, I started my hand trying, fishing regionally, all the big tournaments in the West. And I did that for a couple of years with success, fished in California, Arizona, New Mexico, Oregon, Nevada, all out west, and then did that for a couple of years with some good success. This is like in 88, 89. Fished my first Bassmaster in 89, and then I started fishing the Bassmaster circuit back. My first year was the 89-90 tournament season. Back then, they used to start them in September, and then fish all through the winter, and the final event would be in May, and then the classic would be in the summer. But it's a different schedule now. But yeah, so that's kind of that's how I got going and had a good bit of success and won some tournaments at each level before I tried moving up to the next level.
Absolutely. Who are some of the people? Because I know there's a lot of people that probably helped you along the way, but just like key people that kind of helped you kind of stay on track and as you were growing and as you were going through each level, who were like those people that kind of helped you out?
Well, you need a lot of help because it's a very competitive, tough way to go, So my wife, Jill, she was a huge support base all the time, and she traveled with me a lot before we started our family. And my parents are always big believers that I could do it. And I had a kind of a mentor named Bill Cedar, who was taught me how to fish basically when I was in high school. He was a retired gentleman, just an old friend. And he was always giving me advice and tips and stuff. But, ultimately it's a solo sport. So you don't have a coach or teammates. It's just you. So you have to really believe in yourself and that you can be successful and work super hard at it, to make your dream become a reality. And that's how I was back in those days. I treated bass fishing like I was preparing for an Olympic sport, as far as just a singular focus. And that's all I did. I bass fished and I drove to the next place I was going to fish, and I ate and I slept, and that's it. It'd be like, what I envisioned an athlete, what their lifestyle would be like training for an upcoming Olympics event. And so I didn't stay that way my whole career. 35 years, but when I was a kid, that's how I got into it. So it's a tremendous amount of hard work, but God really blessed me too with a lot of success early on, and I was able to capitalize on that and got a lot of confidence that after getting some success and got some sponsors. That's really a huge deal. It's getting some endorsements, because you can't do it make a living just on your winnings. You need to, because you have good years and lean years on your winning. So you got to have some sponsors to help you through. And, but yeah, it's been a fun time.
Absolutely, man. What's the biggest difference from starting out in like the 80s and then coming to it now where you just retired last year, which congratulations on retirement, by the way.
The differences are incredible, Eric. I mean, just from the boats to the industry and all the tackle that we used. I mean, and then just on that side, it's a huge difference. And then the industry's grown a good bit. Back then, there was just one pro circuit. It was just bass. I started before FLW even started, and they started in '96. I started my career in '87. So it was, it was totally different. We had the electronics were just flashers. We had the Lowrance X16 paper graph was our big new technology that came on the scene like in the late 80s. And things, those have evolved so much over the years. It's just amazing. But I think the fish also, besides the equipment, the fish have changed a little bit in that because they have had so much intelligent pressure that most of the fish in our public lakes have been caught now several times in their life. So it's a little bit different game when you're trying to catch a bass that's been caught 6 times in the last couple of years. It's a lot back in the 80s and 90s, our lakes didn't have as much intelligent pressure. There was a lot of people that fished, but they all just went down the bank throwing a spinnerbait or a rattle trap. That's how all the locals fished. But now, gosh, the average local's as good as the top pros were, 10, 15 years ago. But with catch and release, it keeps our fisheries going, and the fish are there. In fact, a lot of our lakes are just loaded with bass, but they're just very wary because they've all been caught several times. So there's the game's changed in that regard because the fish have changed a little bit, and techniques and stuff have evolved to keep up with them. But it's super fun.
Jay, it's interesting you hit on that point where it's like overpressured fish, because I would always hear stories about like, my dad's fish stories when he would go out in the local reservoir and throw his bait in there, and he would come out of there with like 2 5-pounders, and I would go to that same reservoir nowadays and I'm catching like dinks. So It's interesting to see like some truth in that. The guy that's been in it for 35 years and kind of what he's seen.
Yeah, bass are super aggressive by nature, and you go to a lake or a pond that they've never been seen a lure before. Oh my gosh, they'll jump over anything you throw in there. And then eventually they get caught, and they don't like getting caught, so they get a little more wary and a little more reserved, you might say, and just running out and eating the first artificial bait they see. But people keep inventing new ways to fool them, and it's a lot of fun trying to do that.
Absolutely,
but it's an amazing fishery because if you catch them and let them go, they're still in there to spawn and make babies, and the fish are there. You just don't get a lot of bite. You don't get as many bites on the heavily fished public lakes like Lake Fork and Lake Gunnersville and places like that have hundreds of boats on them every day of the year fishing, catching those fish. And they catch and release. The fish are still there. They've just been caught so many times. But when you get around a bass right when he's feeding, there's always little windows during every day where bass are catchable. And you just don't get as many bites, but they're still out there to be caught.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying I do any illegal fishing by any means, but I've definitely fished a couple places where they don't see many lures, I should say. And it's crazy. You throw anything at them and they bite it. So I can only imagine.
Right. That's fun. That's where most people start their bass fishing, in that sort of environment where that's pond fishing or fishing golf courses or whatever. And they're fun to catch because they are aggressive. They'll bite on top and different ways. And there's a reason the bass are the number one sport fish in the country. They're just a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And they live in all states except Alaska, so they're everywhere.
Yep, absolutely. Everyone can kind of connect to the bass fishing. But Jay, another thing I just wanted to point out here is what's it like in 2003 winning an ESPY?
Oh, that was awesome. I got stories from that. So yeah, I did. I got an ESPY for the best outdoor athlete. So they flew at the time. I lived in Texas, and I guess ESPN flew my wife and I out first class to Hollywood, where they had the ESPY, and they put us up at this hotel. And I remember, I hope I get this story right. I haven't told it in a while, but they told us to be in the lobby at like 4 p.m. because our limo would be going to the Kodak Theater. There was where they had the awards, and they were going to seat us and all that. And so I took my time getting ready and delayed a little bit too much. And by the time it was time to really get ready, I realized I'd forgotten my dress shirt. I brought a suit. I mean, I went out and bought a suit, and a nice one. But for some reason, I left my dress shirt at home, and it was anyway, that was crazy. So I was running all over Hollywood trying to find a dress shirt right at the last minute, and I did. But we get there, and they have this red carpet walk going into the Kodak Theater, and then there's a tall chain link fence on each side of the red carpet to keep the fans away, and there's lots of fans on each side, and all these guys, all these amazing athletes are getting introduced, and right before, and then so it was almost my turn. Right before me, Emmett Smith, who used to be a running back for the Dallas Cowboys, Emmett, everybody's cheering real loud. They're cheering for all those guys because they're all big name athletes. And then they say, okay, now up for the outdoor athlete of the year is Jay Yelas, and everybody's like, who? Because this is in southern, Los Angeles, right? Nobody knows about bass fishing back there. So anyway, we got to go in there, and then I ended up winning that award that night. That was incredible. It was a great memory, and I still got it on the old mantle at the house. But yeah, I think only 2 fishermen ever did win that. I think Van Dam won it like in maybe the year before or a couple years before I did, and so that was a tremendous honor.
Yeah,
they had a big after party, that I get to meet all these famous athletes, and that was an awesome experience. I loved it. Great memory.
Who's the coolest athlete you met from that?
Serena Williams. She was just. I mean, her forearms are like most men's thighs. She is so incredibly strong. You can't see that on TV watching her play tennis, but I mean, that was back in her prime. I mean, back in 03, heck, 20 years ago. But yeah, she was, we were stuck in the elevator for a little bit with her, my wife and I were, and she was nice. And I was just amazed at how built she was. I've never been close to a lady professional tennis player before, but man, she was strong. That's why she was so good for so long. But yeah, I mean, Tom Brady was there. We got to talk to him, and just, I don't know. There was a bunch of them, bunch of football and, players and basketball, golf, all tennis stars, all kinds of stuff. And then there was me, the old fisherman.
You're representing the fishing community.
Yeah.
I love it, Jay. Let's switch gears to your foundation, the C.A.S.T for Kids Foundation. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what you guys got going on with that foundation, what you guys do?
Yeah, sure. Well, the C.A.S.T for Kids Foundation, we exist to enrich the lives of children with special needs, and we take on fishing. We put on fishing events, giving them an opportunity to not just to go fishing, but we really celebrate the kids after their fishing is done. We have lunch for everybody, an awards ceremony, and all the kids get a plaque with their photo in it, and everybody cheers real loud for them, and they just love it. So it's we're in our 32nd year. Of the C.A.S.T for Kids Foundation. Started in 91, and I didn't start it. I was on the board of directors for 10 years, and then the founder of it retired, and so I transitioned from being a board member to running it on a daily basis, and I've been doing that since 2015. So we've been growing, adding events all around the country, and we have on our website is cast4kids.org, we have an event map on there. We've got events all over from coast to coast, and we're always looking for folks to come out and volunteer, to take a child fishing. Some of our events are boating events. Some are shore fishing events, but at all those events, we need volunteers to work with the kids and, help them catch fish. And it's most of the time the volunteers we find come out to be a blessing to the kids and help them, but they end up being the ones that get the most out of it, just because it's so fun to share your time with some of these awesome kids and put a smile on their face and get a big hug from them at the end of the day. So that's what we do. Or if anybody's listening that knows a special needs child that would never been fishing, or they might want to try it, just have them sign up. The events are totally free to all the kids. So, and you can register online for all the events at our website or through our website. So it's super fun. And we have events, like I say, all over America. And I think Texas has more events than any other state, but we've got them from coast to coast and north to south. And it's pretty fun.
Jay, that's awesome. And, the links will be in the bio for the C.A.S.T for Kids Foundation if you guys want to go check it out, donate, get involved, all that good stuff. It's a great foundation, and it's awesome what you guys do, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. It's just good to give back. I was blessed a 35-year career as a professional bass fisherman, and now it's something I'm passionate about, is giving these kids an opportunity to go and enjoy it. And special needs kids they don't ever have nothing designed just for them to go do. And there's a lot of, I heard recently that it's about 17% of the population has some disability, or at least some disability. And so there's a lot of people in America that have some sort of disability or special needs. So we love giving those guys and gals a chance to go and enjoy a fun day on the water and celebrate them too with a fun lunch and awards ceremony. It's a good time. I love doing it.
I love it. All right, Jay, let's wrap it up here. I always like asking everyone, 35-year career, Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, in ESPY. What is your PB, largemouth bass and smallmouth bass?
Right. Well, great question. My biggest largemouth was 11 pounds, 11 ounces. I caught it at Lake Toho in a Bassmaster tournament in 2001. It was back of the year that Dean Rojas caught at that time an all-time Bassmaster record. He had like a 45-pound limit. And the second day of that tournament, I had a 36-pound limit, which was including an 11-11. And and the smallmouth, my biggest smallmouth was like 5'12". I've never did catch a 6-pound smallmouth my whole career, not even fun fishing. And but I caught that 5-pounder on the St. Lawrence River. Actually, in a Bassmaster tournament, I like catching them in tournaments. But anyway, I caught that in 2019 in an elite series on the St. Lawrence River. So, yeah. Those are some dandies, but I was always surprised me that I never did catch a 6-pound smallmouth in all my fishing. Yeah, but we've got some big smallmouth out here in the Northwest. I'd need to head over to Idaho and chase some of those giant smallies they catch. They catch pretty regularly. It's like 6, 7 pounds, 8-pound smallmouth over there in some of those lakes. So anyway.
That's the last thing you need for the trophy shelf to just put on there. 6 pounds.
Exactly. Right.
I love it. Awesome, Jay. I appreciate it. So real quick, just to wrap up here, where can people find you, get in contact with you, and then also check out the C.A.S.T for Kids Foundation? I know you already said the website, but might as well.
Yeah, well, my email is jay@castforkids.org. And my phone number is on there too. You can just go through our C.A.S.T for Kids website. And if anybody's interested in starting an event in their community for kids with special needs, heck, get in touch with us. That's what we do at the foundation. We provide leadership to help local communities put on an event. And for the kids in those communities, we rely on a lot of local volunteers in the area and we work with the volunteers to kind of help them put on an event. So it's super fun, and we'd love to get some more events going. So give us a call or send me an email. We'll do it.
Awesome. Jay, I love it. Thanks for coming on here. Maybe some down the road we'll have you on for another episode.
Yeah, that'd be great, Eric. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
You got it. You just listened to the Fishing Fanatics podcast with your host, Eric Stewart. Feel free to check out our other podcasts and our other interviews on our channel, on Spotify, YouTube, and much more. Check out our Instagram page, TikTok, and Facebook as well.